Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.
Let's explore how these dynamic leaders see the road to 2047 Viksit Bharat and the roles of their industries. How would they shape India as a developed nation? So, format એવું રહેશે that I'll ask two open-ended questions and then એના પછીના segmentમાં industry-specific questions to each of you, right? So my first question to all of you is, looking at 2047 Viksit Bharat, what are the key transformations you envision for India that would define us as a developed nation? Tamara hisabe, in your own words, what is the idea of India? What is the idea of Viksit Bharat 2047 for you and your industry? Saumya bhai?
Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for having me today in the Gate 2025 by GCCI. It is truly a vision by the whole GCCI to see a platform on renewable energy, green energy, sustainability, and one of my favorite subjects, which is IT and AI. So, when we talk about Viksit Bharat 2047, the vision of our Prime Minister, and I feel that being a developed nation and, taking the, it's not just, increasing the, yes, of course, your GDP is going to increase, your per capita is going to increase, all of those things will increase. But if you truly understand Viksit Bharat and what it stands for, I think it talks about many subjects, including infrastructure, sports infrastructure, culture development of the nation, women empowerment. So if you see that, there's many aspects to being a developed society, and if we work holistically towards the nation of, being developed nation, then we need to think about sustainability towards our own organizations as well as the society, and what value we'll add as leaders for the generation or next generation, like we were talking, like what value we'll add for times to come, and then how do we portray industries and the organizations are going to look like in times to come. And with the increasing competition or, heavy scales of growth people have seen in last couple of years, how do we kind of keep a stable mind during that whole journey of development, but at the same time think about our country, our planet, and overall holistically the whole society.
So striking a balance. Kalpit, what does Viksit Bharat mean for Indian food industry? On a global stage, how do you look at India?
See, the way I see India evolved over the last 5 years especially, there is a huge section of India that is living a developed lifestyle. Right? I think about 10% of India is living a developed lifestyle. So for me, Viksit Bharat is about increasing the scale, speeding it up. How many people will be able to live this kind of a lifestyle by 2030, by 2040, by 2050, right? And with regards to the food industry also, we are seeing that, pre-2020, we were selling only 10 rupee, 20 rupee products, right? Now we are selling 40 rupee, 50 rupee products, which is a large portion. So that means that the consumer has become more discerning and he is making choices that are, that is higher quality or better ingredients, better packaging. So that is the output that we are seeing. Now, how fast will we see more and more people making those choices, right? And that is a component of our economy growing, also the service industry growing within India, because that is the main base. If people will only keep on working in manufacturing, then there's always going to be pressure on salaries and those things. Whereas if people work in the services industry, that will improve. So we are seeing a holistic growth in India, and it just has to be sped up now. That is how I am seeing it, especially with the new taxation schemes. Maybe Trump might help it also by reducing the import duties, by making it a more level playing field. So, that will maybe, I think, help. Some industries might get disrupted, but overall, it will become a more level playing field for globalization, for us to sell our services around the world.
Well, level playing field. Akshat, will solar panels be seamlessly integrated by 2047? એક એવો સમય આવી જશે કે જ્યારે આપણે આપણા ફોનને આપણા હાથથી જ ચાર્જ કરી લઈશું, ટી-શર્ટથી ચાર્જ કરી લઈશું.
That's definitely a wish list, but I think much before that. For me, I mean, one statement that I would wish to see India at 2047. I mean, I would of course say safe, secure, self-reliant, sustainably developed, and of course, happy nation, right? I mean, these are the 5 top priorities if you ask me personally, right? Now, what are we doing to kind of achieve that? Now, I come from a business sector which is, the philosophically is very opposite to what just Kalpit said, right? I mean, in FMCG, you want to kind of price up your product every year. The sector we come in is, the aim of the government is to get free electricity. So a large part of our group is focused on renewable energy. So for us, actually, all the targets are how do we keep on reducing our price. And but very interesting discussions, very interesting perceptions. Every industry has its own challenges and targets to achieve by 2047. But definitely, I mean, the 5 things that I said, I would really want to look forward for India to achieve that, for every citizen to kind of be really happy with all those 5 things that we have talked about. Yeah, I think it's as plain and simple as that.
The key word is happy nation.
Yeah.
And how do you actually measure happiness? It's very interesting the way you put it, and the decreasing prices you said, yeah. So maybe by 2047, renewable energy could be the new currency actually. We just, we'll just hypothetically we look at, how can energy be the currency?
If you go back a little bit, we were paying very high for internet. Our per GB cost used to be 2,000 rupees and all. And now, in all practicality, it's free of cost, right? I foresee that going forward, renewable business is going to be very similar. It is going to be primarily, or at least I would wish it to be more of a subscription-based business where somebody is installing panels who has the capital to do it and somebody is using it. But it maybe not till the extreme level, but I think in the very few years, I definitely foresee that coming into that. Yeah.
Thank you. Priyam, 2047 સુધીમાં I think the age-old debate would come to an end that which oil is the healthiest? Or will it be a delicious mystery?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the entire GCCI panel and all the members who worked so hard to make this successful. I hear from Asad, this is the first time it has happened in the 75 years of its existence. I hope it keeps happening again and again, and it gives, from what I hear from, even though it's the first day, whatever I heard from people, it's quite good reviews. So congratulations to the entire team for putting this forward. Coming back to Dhvanit, on your question, I think the vision for 2047, I think there are different people with different visions. I would rather want a healthier India. What is healthy? What is health? Where does happiness come from? If you're healthy, you'll be happier. It is not going to be the best, but you're going to be happier. So health is one of the basic platforms on which all of these other needs can be taken care of. And I don't think it's just oil. See, India is divided into multiple parts. There is a major part of the population who is undernourished, and there's a small part of the nation who I jokingly say are overly nourished, who are looking to reduce oil, looking to reduce sugar, looking to reduce other diseases. So the main takeaway is, how do you explain to the customers, how do you explain to the nation what is good for them, why they should consume, not to be extreme as that, okay, I want to cut down on sugar, I'm not going to eat sugar at all, I'm not going to eat oil at all, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to stop wheat. How do you take everything into moderation and you create a healthy generation to come who can take this India forward? See, we have the intellect, we have the manpower, we have the mindset, and we have a platform with the government like ours that we can go to the moon and back. That's the kind of a growth that I foresee in India. What China did in the last 3 decades, India is the next 3 decades is India's time. So to do that with a healthy set of customers is what my vision for India would be.
Very nice. So a healthy nation would be a happy nation. And healthcare would play a very important role. So in 2047, what do you think, Shanay? Will robots give us life advices? Or અત્યારે robotic surgery તો થાય છે, but there is a human hand behind it. So will that be completely out of the business and only robots will take over?
So first of all, thank you GCCI for having me here. It's very rare to see such a large event happening in Gujarat at such a scale. So a huge congratulations to entire committee. Talking of Viksit Bharat and then moving to healthcare, my friends on the dais have already painted a picture, but if I have to say, in my opinion, just to add to it, India is still a country with huge income disparity. So while we continue to have a higher GDP growth and we achieve our targets as a country for the GDP that we aim to have, that income disparity, having that lower is equally important in my opinion. So, and then of course, by default, the governance, sustainability, etc. will definitely come into play. Talking of healthcare, yes, these are the times for robotics and AI, but I feel that AI and robotics will not change medicine. I feel doctors who use AI and robotics will change medicine and will change the patient outcome. So the doctor aspect of medicine is still the most important aspect even today, and they will still be the center of the ecosystem after the patients. We are almost 22 years away. What we have achieved, we've come a long way already as a country. We export so many pharmaceutical products across the world. We are a net exporter of pharmaceutical products. On the other hand, we are a net importer of medical devices. Today, we import 80% of the medical devices that we use in India. So I see that as a very big opportunity that we will be able to drastically reduce the reliance on our imports in terms of medical devices if we are able to build the capabilities, the right capabilities in India. In terms of healthcare services, today, India has not even scratched the surface in terms of medical tourism coming into India. We've been doing it for a lot of years, for 2 decades, but countries in Southeast Asia like Singapore and Thailand are way ahead of us in the curve. So that again is a huge opportunity for us, to kind of bridge that gap in the years to come. So these are my 2 senses.
Nice. So I think my next question has changed now after listening to all of you. So Priyam mentioned about China, you mentioned about Singapore and Thailand. All of you have been traveling across the world and trying to get the best practices to our nation in your own industries. What would be the top 3 priorities for us in next decade to move towards Viksit Bharat? But according to you, top 3 priorities ke jema you learn from the best practices. Which nation do you look forward to? What is that one thing which you think China did, you think US did, you think a small country like Singapore did, and they are where they are? So what are your learnings from already developed nations, or maybe developing nations, and their strategies? Yeah. Whoever wants to.
I feel, as Shanay said, that with the growth of GDP and per capita, I think that's like the end result. Like that's the end thing which we see that if we do all the steps, we'll reach there. But I feel that putting money behind infrastructure and the growth of infrastructure of India is very necessary, because that would strengthen our supply chains, that would make transport easy of products, bring down costs of transport. I think going behind the rural India, which actually holds lot of strength, is actually the backbone of India and is backed by the complete agricultural backbone which India holds. I think going there and working in rural India and making rural India more of, part of the growth journey as well, and not just, that's rural bit of India. And we can go there, we can set up education, we can set up internet, we can, there's lot of stuff which can be taken down the line to create that awareness. I personally feel that it's all about awareness and creating awareness in terms of, what we want to communicate as a country, or what we want to communicate as, next generation people. So I feel that, infrastructure, rural India, and more communication and creating that awareness into the depths of India in terms of making them aware that, this, like, we need to, I think that message needs to go into the depth of the country.
Accessibility is the word. Yes, please, Kalpit.
So infra obviously needs to be front-ended, like what we might need 10 years later needs to be made today. That is, I think, the most, what we have seen worldwide, especially you can see the Middle East, for example, or Singapore, or so they are a lot more aggressive in terms of investing in their facilities. So that needs to be a lot more aggressive in terms of our road infra, in terms of our institutions, in terms of the airports or the like. The other thing is, I think we've slowed down on the investment in education in our country. So that is, the government used to lead from the front, and now I think they've left it to a lot more to private. And the speed at which that is happening, obviously the accessibility also goes down if it's just private. So that is the other challenge I'm foreseeing. And the third is the healthcare and food standards especially. And that I think also has been left to the private companies to decide what kind of standards they want to achieve, right? So, one of the good things that has happened is that, a lot of the business families have built that knowledge and have done well over the years, and they have invested in improving the quality to achieve global standards or beat global standards. And that is happening, but that is just up to us. Whereas the government standards, while being established, are not being applied. So that is something that the government needs to really invest in, is that in their own institutions and how they can institutionalize the application of their standards also.
Nice. So education would lead to innovation. So innovation, food standards, and healthcare. So
I think, not naming the country what has done what, but if you ask me, if we really want to achieve the 2047, of course, they've already laid out, a great points on what are required. But apart from that, I think additionally, what I would really want, certain changes, learning from other Western developed countries, is the government should actually incentivize the risk takers. If you see, a lot of our neighboring countries, the reason of growth is entrepreneurship has been praised. A lot of times, in a lot of countries, it feels that, risk takers are actually being bashed upon, right? So the first change that I would like to really see for us to grow is the attitude towards entrepreneurship. People need to be incentivized for taking risk. Second thing is, of course, connectivity. Infrastructure is very important. I was in a country a few weeks ago, and you see any mode of transport is available, and the factories are actually made near the river sides, because every river in the country is connected. So they can, even internally, domestically, they can send the goods from one state to the other on a ship in the river. Education, of course, already, they touched base upon. And ease of doing business. I think that's really something we all need to, and we as a company, I'm sure everybody over here, so it's not that others are not doing it. We have a software which is only taking care of the compliances, right? We have a software for every organization that tells us what are the dates of compliances. Why do we need it? Because there are like hundreds of compliances we need to follow every day, every week, every fortnight and all. So somewhere if these things are taken care for, the vision that all of us shared for 2047 doesn't really look very far-fetched. Yeah.
So the ease of doing business and the last mile connectivity. Nice.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I think they've spoken most of the points. I would rather talk about the agri sector, which is, I think, India's agricultural country. And what is happening today is that the prices of the farmlands are becoming so high that the return of the crop that they're getting is in point decimals of whatever their yearly income is. Now to explain that to the next generation who is looking at all of these reels on Instagram and Snapchat and they want to sell this land and they want to get rich immediately is a challenge that we are going to have. How are you going to have food security? How are you going to keep self-sustainability in food, which is the government's vision? Secondly, with small farmers, small farmlands, it is very difficult to have better yields, very difficult to mechanicalize the entire process. We talk about countries like Brazil and Argentina. An average farmer has a farmland of 2,000 hectares. And here we are looking at 1 biga, 2 biga, usme bhi 4 bhai hai, unke 4 bete hai. Everyone is doing the same thing. So how do you do that? The government really needs to step up if we want to be self-reliant. And food security for a nation, be it anyone, it is one of the most important things. Now, any changes in the global tensions happening, any situations like COVID coming in, how do you sustain yourself? How do you keep your population fed? Without food, there is no use. So we need to really take care of the farmers. We need to take care of how do we encourage them to keep farming and to provide us with food without which we would not be alive for the next 20 years.
Very nicely said. I have a question on that, but we'll ask you later. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things. I think my friends already mentioned a couple of aspects, but I would like to say that each country, because you mentioned that what learnings can we take from other countries. I think each country is in a different situation, and we are facing unique problems in India. And I think the government of the day, the incumbent government, has identified these problems very accurately and made the policies based on that, and they are working on it. And of course, in a country like India, India is like an elephant. It takes time to move, but once it moves, you cannot stop it, right? So from that perspective, the policies are quite laid out. But in terms of healthcare specific challenges that we face, so skill is definitely one of them because, and we've come up with a solution to that. So in our group, we now run something called Shalby Academy, where we train thousands of nurses, paramedics, technicians, so that we can, kind of involve them in our facilities once they undergo their 3 to 6 months of training. This also helps a lot of the paramedical staff to go abroad, work abroad. So in general, skill development, I think, is extremely important. In the medical devices business that we run, we manufacture medical implants in the US. We have evaluated in the last couple of years if we want to bring and do a technology transfer, bring manufacturing in India over the long term. Again, building a factory and trying to get the machines is the easy job. Really, whether we are, kind of able to run a plant with the right people, with the right skill set is the biggest challenge for us. So, we have to get that right before we kind of take that step forward. So these are some of the challenges that we face, and of course, as I said, the government is working towards it, but we have our job as well, and our role to play as well along with the government.
So let's make this interesting. Let's say the government wants to make India a global leader in your respective fields. And if you have the mic right now in front of the PM, what is that one policy change that you would want to vouch for, you would want to request for, that this is what should be done in our industry? You have the microphone, you have the PM in front of you, now it's your time.
ગુજરાતીમાં કહું
હા હા
જાતે જ મહેનત કરીને મોટું કરવું પડે. અમે તો તમને policies are there. I mean, building material space, people have grown a lot. I mean, last 10 years, 15, 20 years. So, but I would say if you want to be a global player, then you need to set the standards. Private institution as well as government institution, they need to work hand in hand in terms of creating standardization, in terms of the quality of the product, in terms of manufacturing process, in terms of following all the health and safety standards, pollution standards, all those standards. And if that increases, what happens is globally people see that, no, this everything is being met in terms of producing a product which is being then used by the people. It is, I think we need to raise those standards as manufacturers as well in terms of how we can create best quality products. So I think that's something the institution and the government needs to work hand in hand. But when I talk about, for example, Astral and ourselves, and if we want to be leaders, let's say in India and outside India, we need to invest more on, getting skill, getting the right kind of people in the organization. We need to strengthen our R&D. We need to, globally see what kind of applications are happening, globally see the construction trends of how the construction sectors are moving globally in terms of application of products. And I think once we notice that, we can then start taking what we have here globally, and Indians have brains. I mean, we know how to grow, we know how to develop, we know how to make products. It's just that we have not put too much effort in terms of exports. I'll talk about building material as per se, exports, but I see a lot of building material companies globally, and I see a lot of chemical companies in that which have taken their footprint across the globe. Now, if they can come and do business here, are they talking, and they're doing 1,000 crores, are they talking about policy and all? They're just coming and doing business. So you need to have that thing and just stop complaining and just do business, and then work hand in hand, of course, with government if there is any requirement in terms of standardization or product quality standardizations and all those things. So I think it's both the ways. I think it goes both the ways. But also we need to self-invest in our organizations continuously, not just CapExes, but human level.
So the human capital you would want to invest into. Yes.
So Dhvanit, Priyam alluded to this, that we have too many farmers in India, right? And that I think is one of the biggest challenges to achieving quality output for us also, for dairy also. For example, America has only 10,000 dairy farms. That's it. All of America, which consumes 10 times more milk per capita than us, is being serviced by 10,000 dairy farmers. Whereas we will have, lakhs of dairy farmers, or maybe every village will have everyone who is having cattle for for rearing. So the challenge that we have is that our quality doesn't meet global standards. That is the biggest challenge, and we also don't have a demographic dividend there because our climatic conditions are not conducive to cattle rearing. Cattle do better in colder climates. So given that, I think if the government would want us to do a lot more of ice cream and dairy exports, then they should allow us to import free. Like, we are not allowed to import dairy at all. It is just not allowed. You would have to take permits, and it's very painful to do, to import for exports. So to meet those global standards, the only way is that the government opens this up. So that is also at the risk of protecting its farmers, and that's a trade-off that they might have to make eventually.
Very, very interesting.
I think, so see, us as Vishakha, a few years ago, my father, who's the chairman of the group, he had given a very clear mandate that whatever new business we are doing has to some or the other way be a part of sustainability. So even our packaging business, I mean, of course, I'm sure some might say, "Bhai, tum to plastic ka business karte ho," right? Now, but what we have to understand that there is no replacement of plastic as of today at the cost at which it is available. But what we did was we made the plastic sustainable, right? We got recyclable packaging materials, which can increase the shelf life. Then, of course, we do renewable energy components for all the renewable energy and all. But one is the government needs to really mandate for our industry to put in. The question that you asked, what do we need? We need a lot of capital, because see, this is infrastructure. At the end of the day, renewable energy or any kind of energy is infrastructure. So a lot of capital is required, and more than the capital, I think if the government lays out a next 10-year plan, if the government really lays out the next 10-year plan with a firm commitment that in the next 10 years, this is the amount of electricity that the state is going to purchase, this is the amount, and I'm sure this kind of predictability is something all of us want, right? I mean, I'm sure Astral also tomorrow would want ke atla buildings banwana hai, atli plumbing pipe ni requirement che, or XYZ things that, in the building materials that they're doing. Then I think India as a country, entrepreneurship is not a problem. And if the capital comes at the right cost and a clear mandate from the government comes in, that this is the roadmap for us to achieve in the next 10 years, I am very sure everybody sitting in the audience as well as on the dais will invest. They have the risk-taking appetite. So if this two clarity we have, additionally to the vision that all of us shared on ease of doing business and XYZ, I think, we just want the government to hear that out. Yeah,
Why don't you talk about the glass manufacturing thing also that we just spoke about? The other countries, the kind of things that they are doing, and where do we stand and what do we need to do?
Yeah, so the interesting story, I mean, what we shared. So, we were actually in the process of deciding glasses to be manufactured and all. And, my father actually, so ours is a joint venture, so my father was actually talking to our partner and he said, glass factory nakhwani hai. So he just committed, ke, हाँ, nakhi deisu. And then we had to ask, ke, kai glass factory nakhwani hai, right? So, I mean, that's the commitment levels that is actually, and it's a true story. He committed 1,000 crore of investment without actually knowing what's the end product of it. But then, of course, we evolved. So there was a very interesting discussion, and I think there's a big learning that has come out from that. When we set up the glass factory, we wanted to be very conservative. We said 300 ton per day is a good size to start with because we had no experience producing glass. So, we were working on that direction, and then we went to the board with both the partners sitting over there. And they said, China ma, what is the largest furnace? They said 1,000 TPD, 1,000 ton per day is the operational one, and the new ones that are being built is 1,400 and 1,600 ton per day. So they said 300 ton per day, to pachi nakhot nahi, because you are already behind the curve, and there's no point setting up a 300 ton per day because your cost dynamics is never going to match. So your new investment is 300 TPD and the global benchmark is at 1,400 TPD. I mean, how do you match the cost? So it's a dead investment. So, of course, after too much of,
Deliberations.
Convincing and deliberations, yeah. I mean, we settled to start with at a 660. And the new furnace that we are setting up is at 1,260, which is the largest in the country across all glass industries, right? So, yeah, I think it's a very interesting understanding that that risk-taking appetite also kind of becomes very important. Yeah. And of course, I mean, we talked a lot on the AI stuff and as well.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
it.
Please, thanks.
Yes, Priyam.
The policy decision that
Yes,
we would want the government to take. I think adding on to what I'd said earlier to what the farmers, we need good farming, we need mechanical harvesting, all of these technologies, but we also need change in technology. So India is way behind in terms of genetically modified seeds, genetically modified foods. We are importing foods, we are importing parts of those foods which are already genetically modified. We are allowing it in some industries, we're not allowing in some industries. So specifically, if I talk about the edible oil industry, we need to allow more of GM seeds in mustard, in soy, which have a yield 6 to 7 times higher than what we are actually achieving. Cotton, if I talk about BT cotton, we are on generation first or second. The world is on generation fifth and sixth. The yield is 3 times higher. So how do you convince the customers that you're more competitive? Because first of all, your yield of the country is only so low. How can you be competitive in the world? And if you want to be the number one in the world, you need to adapt to whatever the best practices the rest of the world is doing. So we should implement modified seeds to increase the yield. The more the yield will be there, the more we'll be self-sufficient. And also we will be able to export as well. I don't see India as a very good coastline. We can also, which we have started doing plantations of palm, which can be used in industrial products. So that is also happening. So these are 2-3 things that the government, I think palm the government is already doing. So only on the seed front, if we do that, we will be able to provide good food, good quality food for healthier India. Palm will not be able to make a healthier India. We'll have to make a healthier India through quality seeds, mustard, sunflower oil, soybean oil. These are all the oils which will actually add value. Cotton seed oil.
So, but there is a movement for non-GMO, and genetically modified food will impact the healthcare. Would it or not, is the question.
So I would answer the question in 2 parts in terms of the policy making. One is that if you look at the purchasing power parity of India, real estate is the most expensive in India compared to any other country. So there are pockets in Mumbai, pockets in Delhi, and some other cities which are more expensive than a town or a city in the US. And at the same time, so if I look at my balance sheet today, out of every 100 rupees invested in a hospital, 50 rupees are spent on land, right? So if we want more investments, we need more investments in hospitals. We want more hospitals to come up. We have one of the lowest ratios of number of beds to the population, number of nurses to the population, number of doctors to the population. And if we want more investments to come in, I would say an entrepreneur can run 2 hospitals instead of 1 if land is provided at a subsidized cost to him, right? So this is one area I feel where, you know, a lot can be done. The second area is really the fact that, you know, if there is a consistent policy, and, you know, often there are different kind of regulations that come in terms of price caps, etc. So what happens is when somebody, if I'm an outsider and I'm looking to take a plunge in the hospital business, and if I see that, you know, the policy keeps flip-flopping a little bit, then that acts as a deterrent for me. So, you know, having a stable policy in terms of the pricing, etc., would really help, because that would help investors, number one. Number two, it would also help people to get into this profession, right? Because we need people, okay? In a 150, 200 bed hospital, there are 800 people working, right? So it is definitely a creator of massive jobs, number one. These are middle class jobs, and 70% of these are women, right?
Very, very, very interesting. The last point that you just mentioned. Now, industry-specific questions. So we'll talk about Astral, Saumya, your company, your industry, and the vision. So we'll talk about urbanization, sustainable infrastructure, green buildings, smart cities, and role of Indian manufacturing sector. A small segment for all of you. Imagine it's 2047 already. You walk into a typical Indian home. What's that one thing you think will definitely look or feel different because of the innovations of your company or maybe your contemporaries or your industry?
I think how much the use of adhesives and sealants will be made in next, I mean, forget 2047, but in next 4 to 5 years, how much construction chemical adhesives and sealants are going to be used in India is going to be massive, because we are still learning the usage of these products, what these products can do, and more awareness we create for these products, the application is huge. Like they say that, for years past, it was the age of nail. Now it's the age of adhesives we have entered. So I think the speed of construction, the build of construction, the application of stuff that can be used inside a house in terms of aesthetics, in terms of the quality of the construction, everything will change, because there's so much stuff you can do, and with the same thing, our plumbing sector, which we have grown from, the way our CPVC pipes, we have revolutionized the steel GI market.
Certainly.
I'm sure that we are all together working on newer applications in terms of how we can there's noise-free drainage system which we have, which there's, if you flush a toilet, there's no sound, like there's noise insulated pipes. There's so much innovation is happening in terms of plumbing as well. And when we talk about adhesives and paints, I would say that there will be paints. There are people already working on nano paints. There's people working on higher warranty paints. There are people working on new texture paints. There are people working on bringing down the costs of the paint. So there's so much stuff happening in the industry in terms of different application, different stuff, that it's amazing. Like what 10 years, it's been for me 10 years working in the company with my family and the whole staff. So in 10 years also we can see that there's such a shift happening in terms of application of adhesives and sealants in the Indian market. And the market is still, if you compare the piping market would be close to 35,000 crores. Paint market would be close to 80,000 crores in India as of now. Adhesive and sealant market is still 10,000 crores. So there's so much application which awareness, educating the public in general, and bringing that to the ground will definitely change in terms of how we build our homes, how we do our interiors, how we do our furnitures, how we do our aesthetics in the house. Everything will change. You will have, we are working on certain adhesives and sealants right now which match your paint colors, which match your furniture colors. So there's like a seamless connect you can feel inside an house. So it's like so much innovation and so much stuff will happen as time goes by. It's wonderful. Yeah.
But see, adhesive and coatings are very technical for a layperson and a very low engagement products as of now for consumers. So how do you build brand love for this category?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a tough field to be in, because with every adhesive or every sealant, the application changes. So I would have like 10 grades of sealants used in 10 different applications. And I would have 20 different chemistries of adhesives used for 20 different things. So now when we talk about piping or when we talk about plumbing, it's either fresh water supply or sewage supply. So it's very fairly simple. So it's definitely a challenge. I would say that, but it's fun. I would say that, globally, there are such big adhesive and chemical players out there who have done wonders in terms of application and in terms of taking the businesses to the next level. So, it's just effort and just going at it. And, end of the day, I always tell my team and tell my team and everyone that it's constant. You're giving back to India, like you're giving back new age adhesives and new age applications back to the Indian economy. So that's what fuels us.
All right. So, Kalpit, questions for you. Vadilal is a household name across generations, but with Gen Z and now the Gen Alpha entering the scene, how do you reimagine the whole ice cream experience for India?
So India is already making that choice, right, with regards to how they want to consume ice cream. It's never been a better time as a consumer, right? You can have ice cream at your doorsteps, any ice cream you want at your doorsteps in 10 minutes now with the advent of quick commerce. Something that is made in some corner of the country is now becoming available here in our city. So the consumer is spoiled for choice. His disposable income has gone up, so he's not bothered spending 100 rupees on an ice cream, which earlier was a challenge for him. So now the question obviously for Vadilal is that how do we sell these desires of the consumer, right? We are a legacy brand, and how do we keep on appealing to a consumer? And eventually, I think eventually it's more to do with how the product is designed and how it tastes. Right? You could have functional benefits, like there are low calorie ice creams and but then that is the job of separate brands, right? You cannot be something for everyone. That is that is impossible to do. For us, we are at a very nice sweet spot where the innovation pipeline is very strong, the supply pipeline is very strong. Akshat is doing an excellent job electrifying the country, and making that available to people. That is also very important, to not just electrify, but to increase the consumption of electricity and keeping the cost in control. So that is equally more important, and that is a demographic dividend that we are now getting, where all the states are putting in an effort to electrify their states properly, to be paying the electricity bills on time for that state. And our job is to make sure that we are, there is, as the summer happens, right, there is, as it is a big need to consume things that, cool you down, and ice cream is top of mind. And at that time, you have to have that supply pipeline ready, and you have to supply. So some places there is people who are making choices, but consumers have showered us with a lot of love, on platforms like your quick commerce and your Zomatos. People are making choices. People are buying our products also, right? Despite other products being available. So there is that discerning. People know what they are buying.
But FMCG sector ni aapne baat kariye. Particularly, I'll have to rush a bit.
Yeah.
So rural development માટે અને rural employment માટે, particularly supply chains માં, and creating employment generation for rural India. How do you see FMCG sector contributing to this?
See, we have historically been very rural in our business. Our ice creams have always been available in most of the small towns, be it Uttar Pradesh or Gujarat or Rajasthan. Our objective always has been to reach, all the corners of the country. And I have had friends who have come and told me that, I didn't see a good quality water brand at the retail outlet in that, in that village I had gone for that darshan. But I saw your ice cream, so we chose to have ice cream and not water, right? So these are the experiences that we've had. So we've been at the forefront of, we have distributors and retailers who are already very well engaged with us and who are growing their businesses with us.
That's nice. Akshat, energy independence for India. How close are we really to making solar the backbone of India's energy future? And what role will renewable energy play in achieving carbon neutral India by 2047?
So I think one thing we all might agree that carbon neutral is not a choice, it's a necessity. So I think that point is very, very clear where we need to be. I think 2047 would also be a very late target to be carbon neutral. We might have to be much before that. And to reach that, of course, renewable source of energy and sustainable source of energy is the most important part. Specifically for, so one is the role that this energy is going to play. I think it's a very clear roadmap on where we have to, how much time is it going to take. I think we are still very, very far away from reaching that. Though India is primarily the second fastest country who's been deploying renewable energy after China. But I think still that, though being second fastest globally, is still too slow for the actual need for the global world. How do we do that? Now, coming to that is today, and I also see a lot of government's intent in that, with the PLI schemes coming in and the boost in the manufacturing part. We are seeing immense amount of investments being done in the renewable energy sector in terms of developing the whole ecosystem, right? I think because some of my friends on the stage are facing challenges of supply chain, opening up of imports or exports and all. Fortunately, what the Indian government has done is that they are very clear that the complete ecosystem for every component, whether it is wind, solar, going forward probably even nuclear energy, but I will restrict myself to solar because that's really what I know about. The intent is very clear that every smallest of the component needs to be manufactured in India. So it will take some time to achieve our targets, but I think we are doing it the most sustainable way, creating jobs while achieving our renewable energy goal. Yeah.
So what could be that moonlight innovation? What could be that one breakthrough you think that, maybe it could be slightly futuristic also, that you think can redefine the energy scene in India?
Energy is actually very simple. We have just complicated it. It's actually very simple. Energy is the basic need. I mean, everything that requires energy, that will redefine the other things, right? So our job is just to kind of give the energy in the simplest of the form. And after that, it's where. But what do I feel will probably change over the period of time is the cost structure of creating it. And today, the solar panels that we are looking at or the windmills that we are looking at will probably not look this ugly. It will kind of start looking very smart. It will kind of be like more of a jewel in a desert. You would like to go and see it. And we are actually seeing tourism on going and seeing, I mean, there have been so many people who have been to Khavda and then said, okay, wow, it's a marvel to just go and see that, right? So I think energy will become lucrative in terms of looks, in terms of utilization, and in terms of cost.
Yeah. Thank you. Priyam, so certainly, give me 5 minutes. Food security is national security. So in your view, what does self-reliance in essentials like edible oils actually look like by 2047? How can India become self-reliant in essential food products?
I think I've already shed light on it, but to be a spoiled sport, I don't think it is practically possible for India to be. So we will have to understand that the population that we are at and the land area that we are having, and with the different amount of food products that needs to be there. And with the current setup, it is impossible. Maybe if we do changes, it will be next to impossible. It wouldn't be impossible.
Edible oils are a fundamental part of our food system. So there is always a tension between affordability and nutrition. So can we realistically deliver both to 1 billion plus people, and how?
Affordability, if we talk about 10 years back, petrol, diesel was half the price. Oil is still the same price, and still people are talking about expensive oil. So I think we live in a country where some of the things are highlighted extremely and some things are not. So we can't do anything about it. I think the overall inflation is increased, the spending power is increased, and nutrition-wise, we have to change the products that we are marketing to people. We are dependent on 70% of palm oil. What that is doing to our country is something we cannot imagine now. I think Shanay will have a lot of clients coming in the next few years the way palm oil has opened up. So we need to actually sit down and think, what do we want to feed our country? What is it that we are looking at? And how can we make a healthier India in the next 10 to 20 years is completely dependent on us. And we as a company, I know the government has its handfuls. They can't do everything. We as a company are innovating all the food products that we are doing. We are making sure that we are doing our bit to make them a little bit healthier. How do we, in our own way, I cannot take the burden of the entire nation. The government is doing its job. Obviously, they can't do everything, but as a company, we are doing our bit of improving the health of the country and giving them resources of oil which are healthier for them, because food is an indulgence. Eventually, you don't eat ice cream to be healthy, you don't eat fried food to be healthy, you don't do a lot of things to be healthy, you're just doing it for indulgence. So when you're talking about indulgence, nutrition is there, but then indulgence is indulgence. And we have to take it like that, not make a big fuss about it.
2047 mein Vadilal will come up with ashwagandha ice cream, I'm telling you. Shanay, how can India balance affordability and innovation in healthcare? And then the next question would be about AI and technology. 2 questions.
So I think if you talk about universal healthcare, the government has already made its moves in terms of coming up with the Ayushman Bharat scheme. So how Shalby is participating is that, you know, there are some hospitals in our network of 16 hospitals where we take up, you know, these government schemes, and we are playing a role by treating these patients, right? In terms of insurance penetration, the private insurance penetration, we are already growing it at about 13 to 15% per annum, right? So that is definitely going to help and reduce the kind of disease burden that we have. But I would say, I would put it in a different way. The way, you know, the way we are, Shalby is now working on two different things. One is on, I would say, the preventive care, right? How can everyone over the age of 30 undergo a health checkup every year? Because, see, once something gets caught early, it's cheaper to resolve it, and the stress on the patient and the family members is a lot lesser. So very important that we do it ahead of the curve. The other thing I envision is that, you know, the Shalby of tomorrow will be a hospital without walls. Because, you know, because of AI, because of technology, I'm sorry if I'm answering your second question already, but I would say, you know, with the AI, with technology, we can do remote monitoring of patients from their houses. We can do telemedicine. All of these things will play a big role. We already are doing, as a, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience might have heard, we are already doing Shalby home care, where we give home care treatment of different sorts to the patient. So we are already on the path to achieve that, and we hopefully will get there at some point of time.
Thank you. You answered both the questions, actually. So thank you to each of the panelists for sharing the insights and vision for a developed India, from healthcare to food to renewable energy and infrastructure. It's clear that the journey to Viksit Bharat. Do you want the audience to ask the questions? I don't mind. I just thought that we don't have much time. Yes, certainly. I have a lot of other questions also. Yes, please go ahead. Yes, I'll help you.
ફર્સ્ટ ઓફ ઓલ, હું સ્ટેપ ડાઉન થયો ને ત્યારે મને ચિંતા હતી મારા ધંધાની, એટલે હું અહીંયા નીચે બેસીને બોલું છું. કારણ કે ટુડે વેન આઈ સી ધ યંગ પીપલ delivering the things to the depth of the content of the knowledge. I know Akshat, I know Shanay, I know Priyam, but first time I think I meet two other young chap. I think Sandeepai, I think this is the Viksit Bharat. And I don't have any doubt the future of GCCI. I think what we did and what I see today, I think after 10 years we will have a great future. Sandeepbhai, thank you very much, and sorry that today in the morning I was not able to join this function due to my pre-engagement at my college, but I missed a lot. Thank you.
તમને યાદ હોય તો આપણે છેલ્લે એક પેનલ ડિસ્કશન મેં હોસ્ટ કર્યું હતું જેમાં ફર્સ્ટ જનરેશન ઓન્ટરપ્રેનર્સ સાથે જ ડિસ્કશન હતું, if you remember. And there you expressed a lot of concerns, and now you are satisfied with their... Do you remember? If there was anybody in the audience, do you remember? That was a different discussion altogether, but today we had a very, very insightful session, and I am really, really happy with what you've shared. You know, I also did not anticipate so much of in-depth conversation. I think we would have had more time, it would have been more fruitful. એવું મને લાગે છે. But whatever time we had a great discussion and a great chemistry. તમારા બધાની એકબીજાની સાથે સ્કૂલ ડેઝથી ઘણા બધા લોકોની રહી છે. So as we close, let's remember that the future is not just something that we await. It is something we build together. And as young leaders like you at the helm, the vision of progressive, inclusive, and a globally competitive Bharat looks very promising. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining.
Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.